What happens when the guy washing dishes is actually the man who signs your paycheck? Russell Neiman stood at the back door of Store 13, staring up at the faded red and white sign of the fast casual restaurant his father had built from nothing. 17 stores now. He had taken over 5 years ago. Business was steady. Profits looked fine. But the last few audits had shown rising food costs, and a few too many complaints had reached his desk about service in the southern branches. Store 13 was in a working-class neighborhood on the edge of town. It hadn't been remodeled in over a decade. He hadn't stepped foot in it since the ribbon cutting when it opened. Most of the staff here had never met him. That made it the perfect place to see things for himself. He adjusted the short brown wig, fixed his fake glasses, and tugged the name tag on his apron. Ray Trainee. The district manager had sent him here for training after filling out a fake job app online. Only the general manager knew a trainee was arriving. No one else knew who he really was. Inside, the smell of grease hit him hard. The kitchen was small, cramped, and loud. A young woman with tired eyes and a tight ponytail handed him a pair of gloves. "You Ray?" she asked. "Yeah," he said. "First day?" "I'm Haley Jensen, manager." "You'll be stuck in the back today, prep dishes, cleaning. We're short 3 people. Russ nodded. "What happened? One quit, one no-showed, and one's grandma passed. So, welcome to the madness." She didn't have time to say more. A bell rang at the front and she vanished. Russ got to work. The first hour he chopped lettuce with a kid named Ali who barely looked old enough to drive. Ali didn't talk much but worked fast. After that, he was pulled to the dish station. Steam, wet floors, and trays stacked to the ceiling. By noon, the place was slammed. "Ray, take these trash bags out and swing back through the freezer. We need more chicken boxes," barked a heavyset cook with a thick chain around his neck. "Name's Darren. I'm the one who keeps this place running." Russ nodded and grabbed the trash, his arms already sore. In the walk-in freezer, he noticed the chicken was low, very low. A handwritten note on the shelf read, "No reorder until Tuesday, budget cap HJ." Back in the kitchen, the tension was building. A customer stood near the pickup counter waving a receipt. "Hey." "My order's been 20 minutes, Haley rushed over. "I'm sorry, we're a little backed up today." Before she could finish, Darren shouted from the grill, "Maybe next time order something that ain't 5 substitutions." Russ watched Haley flinch. The customer stormed out. Haley pulled Darren aside. "You can't talk to people like that." Darren wiped his hands. "I'm not here to babysit, I'm here to cook." The rest of the shift was chaos. Orders missing, tempers flaring, and yet a few people kept it together, likely always jumping in to help. And a server named Harper, who smiled through the madness and kept apologizing to customers with genuine kindness. Russ was scrubbing trays when he saw something that made him stop. A tall, tired man in a construction vest came in, holding a hard hat under one arm. He looked like he hadn't slept. He leaned on the counter. "Hey," he said, "is there any way I can just get a kid's meal? I got $5. I just need something quick. Been on site since 5 a.m. Harper looked at the register, then at the man's eyes. "Don't worry about it," she said softly. "I'll take care of it." She turned and whispered something to the cook line. Darren heard her and walked over. "We don't do charity here," he snapped. "You want to feed him, use your own paycheck." Harper paused. "I was going to." "Oh, really?" Darren laughed. "Then here." He grabbed a wrapped sandwich from the pass line, walked back, and threw it into the trash bin. Harper's hands flew to her mouth. "What are you doing? You want to feed people for free, you go dumpster diving. Otherwise, we got rules." Russ felt his chest tighten. He stepped away from the sink, heart pounding. That sandwich was already made. It was going to be wasted either way. The construction worker blinked, said nothing, and quietly walked out. Harper stood frozen. Her hands were shaking. Illy muttered under his breath, "That's messed up." Russ walked over to Haley. "You saw that?" She looked sick. "Yeah, but I can't lose another cook today. I just can't." Russ didn't say anything. He just stood there, soaked in steam and sweat, his stomach churning. He had seen enough for one day. Tomorrow, he'd be back. And things were going to change. Russ arrived the next morning before sunrise, parking around the corner again and walking in through the loading entrance. The alley behind store 13 was littered with broken-down boxes and a leaking dumpster. A cat darted past him as he pulled open the dented metal door. Inside, the kitchen was dark except for the glow of the prep cooler. The air was still heavy with grease from the day before. He clocked in using the trainee punch card Haley had handed him the previous morning and grabbed an apron from the hook. Ellie was already there, quietly cutting peppers at the prep table. He glanced up and nodded. "Didn't think you'd come back," he said. Russ slipped on gloves. "Why's that? Most new guys don't make it past the first day, especially not dish." Russ started slicing beside him. "You've been here long," Ellie shrugged. "Since last spring. After school, my mom works nights, so I help out." They worked in silence for a while. The only sounds were the rhythmic slicing and the hum of the cooler. At 6:30, Harper walked in, pulling her hair into a loose braid. She looked tired, but her face lit up when she saw Ellie. "You get that chem quiz done?" she asked. Ellie nodded. "Barely." Russ said nothing. He watched the way Harper looked out for people. It wasn't loud or performative. She just did it. Haley came in 10 minutes later, clutching a large coffee and squinting at her phone. She looked like she hadn't slept. "We've got 2 call-ins already," she said, not looking up. "Darren's late again, and we've got a school lunch order at 11, 80 sandwiches." Russ stayed quiet, waiting for assignments. Haley pointed toward the back sink without looking. "You're on dish again." "Sorry, Ray, it's a mess back there." He nodded and headed into the back. The sink was already full of trays from yesterday's close. He started scrubbing. By 8, the kitchen was full. The morning rush had started. A new woman, maybe in her mid-40s, was working the drive-through headset. She had a limp and leaned heavily on the counter between orders. No one introduced her. She seemed invisible to the rest of the team. Russ listened as she handled a difficult customer with almost robotic patience. "Yes, ma'am, I understand. We're working on that. I can ask the kitchen again, but it may be another few minutes." She clicked off the headset mic and mumbled, "Third time this week. They never have enough bacon prepped." Russ walked out front to grab garbage bags. As he passed the counter, he saw the same woman massaging her knee with one hand. "You okay?" he asked. She looked up, startled. "Yeah, just a little arthritis. I've had worse." He didn't push. She nodded at the trash bags. "If you're taking those out, don't forget the one by the fry station. Darren always skips it." Russ made a mental note and headed out. The sun was up now, and the lot was filling up. A delivery truck was backing into the alley. He waved it around the trash bins and helped the driver unload boxes of produce. Back inside, he noticed 2 things immediately. Darren had finally arrived, and the air felt different. Tense. Darren stood by the grill, arms crossed, glaring at Haley. "You said I was scheduled at 9, he said. Haley checked the clipboard. "You were scheduled at 7. "Nah, I told Wes last week I couldn't do 7s anymore. I've got stuff in the mornings." Haley rubbed her temple. "Wes isn't the GM, I make the schedule." Darren didn't move. "I'm here now, let's just cook." Russ saw the way Haley's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. The next hour was a blur, tickets piled up. The school order was behind. Harper was filling boxes, Ali was slicing bread, and Haley was running between stations shouting time checks. Then it happened again. A man came in with a girl about 6 years old. Her hair was braided into 2 neat plaits and she clutched a small pink backpack. The man looked rough around the edges, work boots, stained hoodie, tired eyes. He reached the counter and looked at the menu. "Just a kid's breakfast sandwich, please, no drink." Harper tapped at the register. $4.65. The man fished through his wallet, counted quarters. Pulled a few crumpled bills. He came up short. Russ was wiping the counter nearby. "It's okay," Harper said quietly. "I'll cover the rest." Before she could finish the transaction, Darren's voice cut through the kitchen. "Not again." Haley, still stacking sandwich boxes, froze. Darren stepped out from behind the grill. "I said we're not doing that anymore," he said. Harper turned. "She's a kid. I don't care. It's not our job to feed every stray that walks in here." The man stiffened. Russ stepped forward. That's enough. Darren looked at him. You don't speak for this place. Russ locked eyes with him. You're right, but neither do you. Haley came around the counter. Darren, go back to the grill. He didn't move. I said go, Haley repeated. Fine, Darren said. But don't come crying when we're short again. He stormed back to the line, slamming a pan onto the flat top. Harper finished the transaction herself. The man muttered a thank you, grabbed the sandwich and left with his daughter. Russ turned to Haley. You're really going to let that keep happening? She hesitated. I'm trying to keep the place from falling apart. Letting someone bully your staff isn't helping. Haley didn't reply. She walked to the back office and closed the door. Russ returned to the sink, but his mind was elsewhere. By noon, the school order was finally out the door. Everyone looked drained. Harper was wiping down trays. Ellie was sitting on an overturned crate, sipping from a water bottle. Russ saw Darren leaning against the cooler, scrolling on his phone. No phones during shift, Harper called out. Darren didn't respond. Haley emerged from the office, rubbing her eyes. Darren, she said. Phone away. He glanced up. I'm on break. You didn't clock out. Darren shoved his phone in his pocket. You want me gone, say it. Haley didn't answer. Russ stepped forward. Actually, he said. I do. Darren looked confused. Who the hell are you? Russ pulled off the wig and glasses. The room went still. Harper's hand froze mid-wipe. Ellie's mouth opened. Haley's face went pale. My name's Russ Neiman, he said. I own this company. And you're done here. Darren looked around the room, then back at Russ. You're kidding. I'm not, Russ said. You've created a toxic environment, disrespected staff, and thrown away food to make a point. That's not how we operate. Darren's face darkened. This place needs me. You'll see. No, we need people who care, Russ said. He turned to Haley. I'll walk him out. Darren didn't argue, just grabbed his coat and left through the back. Russ returned to the kitchen. No one spoke at first, then Harper set down her wipe and walked over. Why now? She asked. Russ met her eyes. Because I needed to see it for myself. Ellie stood, still holding his bottle. What's going to happen to the store? Russ looked around, at the broken tile near the cooler, the faded posters, the rusting shelves. We're going to fix it, he said. But first, we take care of the people. Haley came out quietly. I'm sorry, she said. I should have done more. Russ nodded. You still can, starting today. The room slowly returned to movement. Dishes clattered. The fryer beeped, but something had shifted. Russ stepped outside to call corporate. It was time to clean house, starting with leadership. Russ returned to store 13 the next morning, this time wearing his own clothes. No disguise, no apron. Just jeans, a dark button-down, and a clipboard tucked under one arm. He walked in through the front entrance and paused at the threshold. Every head in the kitchen turned. Harper, already at the register, gave a small, uncertain nod. Illy, prepping onions near the cooler, looked up but didn't say anything. Haley stepped out from the back, holding the morning schedule. Her movements were slower than usual, and her eyes passed over the team before resting on him. I wasn't sure if you'd show up again, she said. I wasn't sure how yesterday would land, Russ replied, but I've got a plan. She set the schedule down on the prep table and crossed her arms. We're running with 3 people online and 1 up front. No one's called in, but we're still down 2 regulars. If you've got a plan that includes finding cooks, I'm all ears. Russ gestured toward the office. Let's talk in there. Inside the cramped room, he closed the door and leaned against the filing cabinet. You're operating with a skeleton crew, and the store's been holding together on grit and duct tape. That stops today. Haley didn't sit. You saw how close we are to burning out. You take Darren out of the picture and we're even closer. I didn't remove him without a backup plan, Russ said, but first I need to know something. Why didn't you bring these problems up the chain? She hesitated, then sat down. I've been with this company 6 years. When I started, we had structure. Weekly check-ins, training updates, someone from ops would stop by every month. But then the district leads started rotating. Nobody stayed longer than 6 months. Eventually, we stopped getting visits. I sent reports, some got answered. Most didn't, Russ nodded slowly. That's on me. I let the middle layer grow too thick, too many filters between me and stores like this. I didn't stop caring, she said, but after a while it felt like yelling into a tunnel. He sat opposite her. We're going to rebuild the bridge between leadership and stores, and that starts here. She looked at him, skeptical but listening. I've got a regional support manager coming in this afternoon, Russ continued. Her name's Carmen Reyes. She started as a shift lead in our Eastwood branch 10 years ago. She knows what it means to run a short staff and a tight ship. She's not here to supervise you, she's here to clear roadblocks. Haley leaned back slowly. And the staffing issue. I can't conjure people out of thin air, but I've already authorized overtime pay for the next 4 weeks. Carmen's bringing in 2 cross-trained floaters from Store 8 and Store 11. They'll rotate through here until we can hire locally. Haley stared at the desk for a moment, then nodded once. It's a start, Russ stood. It's more than that, it's a reset, but it only works if you're honest with me from here on out. Haley looked up. Deal? They returned to the kitchen together. Russ gathered the crew near the back sink. Quick update, he said. I'll be around today observing and helping where I can. Haley's still in charge. We've got support on the way this afternoon. Ellie raised a hand. Does that mean we're not doing doubles all week? You won't be alone anymore, Russ said. That's a promise. Harper tilted her head. Are we really getting help, or is this another corporate we're looking into it? You'll see for yourself in a few hours, Russ said. Until then, let's get through lunch. They scattered to their stations. Russ rolled up his sleeves and joined Ellie at prep. The kid worked with precision but never rushed. Russ watched the way he aligned each tray, how he double-checked labels on the produce. It wasn't just routine, it was respect for the process. You always this careful? Russ asked. Only when I want stuff to last past noon, Ellie replied. If we cut corners now, we're screwed by rush. Who taught you that? No one. I just got tired of redoing things. Russ didn't say anything. The kid had initiative most adults lacked. By 10:30, the first wave hit. A construction crew came in, followed by a group from a nearby charter school. Harper handled the counter solo, moving fast and keeping her tone even. She didn't fake cheer. She didn't force smiles. She just kept things moving. Then a man stepped up to the register wearing a faded bomber jacket and mismatched sneakers. His face was weathered, his hands dirt-stained. He pointed at the menu. Can I get one of the breakfast wraps, just the wrap, no drink, no sides? Harper tapped the screen. That'll be $4.05. The man reached into his pocket and unfolded a few coins. His fingers trembled slightly. Think I'm short, he muttered. I can come back. Before Harper could respond, Russ stepped forward. I've got it, he said. Make it 2 wraps. The man looked at him, confused. You sure? Russ nodded once. Yeah, you're good. He stepped aside as Harper finished the order. The man took the receipt with both hands, nodded again, and waited near the pickup window. Harper leaned closer. I didn't want to cause another scene. You didn't, Russ said. You did the right thing yesterday, too. She didn't reply, just went back to ringing up the next customer. At exactly 12:20, a silver sedan pulled into the lot. A woman in a navy windbreaker stepped out, carrying a laptop bag and clipboard. Carmen Reyes walked in like she already knew the layout. She scanned the store once, then headed straight for Haley. Russ met her halfway. Thanks for coming on short notice, he said. Carmen shook his hand. I've seen worse. Let's get to work. She didn't waste time. Within minutes, she was walking the kitchen, noting equipment wear expired labels and a broken fridge seal. She pulled Harper aside. How many registers are working? Just the one. The second keeps crashing, Carmen nodded. I'll get IT on that, she moved to Ellie. Where's the prep sheet? Ellie pointed to a clipboard near the cooler. Carmen flipped through it, made 2 quick notes, and moved on. Russ watched the team's reactions. No one recoiled, no one bristled. Carmen wasn't there to bark orders. She was there to listen, fix, and clear space for people to do their jobs. By 1:15, the rush slowed. Carmen gathered Haley, Harper, and Ellie near the dry storage door. You've been carrying more than your share, she said. It won't be like this much longer. I've got a maintenance crew scheduled for Friday night. We'll replace the fryer filters, fix the cooler seal, and install a new register. Haley raised an eyebrow. All that by Friday? Carmen smiled faintly. I don't like waiting. Lee looked genuinely surprised. You're the first person from corporate who's actually walked the back line. Carmen didn't miss a beat. That's because I used to work it. Russ joined them. Starting next week, Carmen will be your direct support. No more phone tag with district layers. She reports directly to me. Haley looked at him. What about hiring? We've already posted listings with a hiring bonus. Carmen and I will screen every applicant ourselves until we get this place stable. Harper crossed her arms. And what about us? The ones who stayed when it was bad. Russ paused, then nodded. You're getting retroactive hazard pay for the last 2 pay periods. It'll be on your next check. No one spoke for a moment, then Lee asked, So, are we still short-staffed for tonight? Russ exhaled. Yeah. But not for much longer. That afternoon, Russ worked the register while Harper handled drive-through. Carmen stayed in the back, reviewing inventory and flagging ordering issues. Haley finally took 30 minutes to eat in the office, her first uninterrupted break in weeks. By the time the dinner rush approached, the store felt different, not fixed, not perfect, but lighter. Like the weight had shifted just enough for people to breathe again. As he wiped down the lobby tables, Russ glanced through the front window. The man from earlier, the one with the bomber jacket, was sitting on the curb across the street, eating the second wrap slowly. Russ didn't wave. He just watched. Then he turned back to the kitchen. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. The following Monday, Russ pulled into the back lot of Store 13 just after 6 in the morning. The sun was still behind the buildings, and the air had that crisp, burnt toast scent that always lingered near the fryer vents. He parked in the far corner and sat for a moment, watching the back door. It opened 5 minutes later, right on time. Harper stepped out first, her hair pulled back with a simple elastic band. She wore 2 layers, a uniform hoodie over her polo, and carried a clipboard under one arm. Not a manager, not officially, but she had taken it upon herself to start tracking morning setups. Next came Lee, carrying a case of tomatoes. He propped the door with his foot and waved her through before stepping inside himself. Russ followed, entering through the customer side this time. He walked past the quiet lobby and into the kitchen. The floors had been scrubbed down over the weekend by a maintenance crew Carmen had scheduled, and the fry station had a new oil filter system installed. The place didn't sparkle, it was still a working kitchen, but it breathed easier now. Carmen was already at the prep table, sleeves rolled up, checking the walk-in stock levels with a worn notepad in one hand and a thermometer in the other. You're early, she said without looking up. So are you, Russ replied. I don't like starting behind. He nodded and stepped aside as she moved past him to check the label dates on a row of sauce containers. Russ turned toward Haley, who was reviewing a stack of applications at the back counter. Her hands were ink-stained from making notes directly on the paper. You find anyone worth calling in? He asked. She tapped one sheet. There's a woman who managed a diner in Denton for 8 years. Said she left after the owner sold it and the new guy started cutting hours without notice. She's got references from 2 vendors. She willing to work weekends? She offered to pick up overnights if we ever open late again. Russ raised his eyebrows. Call her in. Haley grabbed her phone from the shelf and stepped into the office. Harper walked over and set the clipboard down beside Russ. We're short on gloves again. I flagged it on the order sheet, but the shipment this morning only had 1 box. Was it marked shorted or just missing? He asked. Missing. Not even circled on the invoice. Russ frowned. I'll call the supplier myself. This keeps happening, she said. We get half a delivery and then have to explain to customers why we're out of basic stuff. I know. We're negotiating a new contract. Carmen's collecting order data across 5 stores. Harper leaned on the counter. It's not just product, it's respect. Feels like half the time we're not even considered. You are now, Russ said. She gave a quiet nod and headed back toward the front. By 8, orders were already coming in. A few regulars stopped by, including the construction foreman whose daughter had been with him the previous week. He ordered the same wrap, this time adding a drink and an extra side. Harper rang him up without comment, but Russ noticed her glance linger just a moment longer before she turned to the next customer. At the back, Ellie was training one of the new floaters Carmen had brought in from store 11, a woman named Jada with a calm energy and a no-nonsense rhythm. She picked up on the processes quickly, asking few questions but getting everything right the first time. They prep differently at 11, she mentioned while slicing bread, but this flow makes more sense. You should tell Carmen, Ellie said. She's tweaking the store models. Jada smiled faintly. Already did. In the office, Haley was on the phone with the former diner manager. She came out 10 minutes later looking more awake than she had in days. She starts Thursday. Wants to get cross-trained immediately? Carmen leaned in from the cooler. If she shows up on time, she's already ahead of our last 3 hires. Haley grinned just a little and scribbled the name onto the schedule board. At 10:30, the day turned. A woman came in with a clipboard and a badge hanging from her lanyard. She introduced herself as a local health inspector, unscheduled visit. Carmen didn't flinch. She handed her a clean apron and walked her through the kitchen, pointing out recent repairs, labeling protocols, and the new pest logs. Russ stayed out of the way. He watched the inspector check the cooler temps, test sanitizer levels, and examine the dry storage. After 20 minutes, the woman signed the inspection sheet and handed it back to Carmen. "Best organized location I've seen this quarter," she said. "No reason they shouldn't all be like this," Carmen replied. As the inspector left, Harper walked back in with a tray of clean condiment bottles. "She give us the grade, full compliance," Carmen said. Harper raised an eyebrow. "That's rare," Russ caught her eye. "It's becoming less rare." At noon, Tyler showed up. He was the assistant manager from store 7, reassigned temporarily to help Haley. Carmen had suggested the move, and Russ had signed off after reviewing his file. 0 write-ups, 3 years of perfect attendance, and a reputation for low drama and high output. He didn't introduce himself with a handshake. He just walked in, scanned the kitchen, and asked Harper where the gloves were stored. "Back shelf, left bin," she said. He grabbed a pair, punched in on the time clock, and went straight to the line. Within the hour, the whole rhythm of the kitchen adjusted. Tickets were cleared in sequence. The fryer stayed stocked. No one had to shout for refills or backup. When a customer spilled a tray in the lobby, Tyler stepped out, grabbed a mop, cleaned it, and returned without needing to be asked. Ellie gave Russ a look across the prep table. "He's good," he said. "Yeah," Russ replied. "He'll be here a while." By 3, the second floater arrived, a tall man named Deshawn with a quiet demeanor and a sharp memory. Carmen gave him a 10-minute walkthrough, then handed him a towel and pointed to the prep sink. He didn't ask questions. He just got to work. Haley emerged from the office again, holding a laminated sheet. "I reworked the training checklist," she said. "It was outdated, didn't even mention half the new systems." Russ took it, looked it over, and handed it back. "Make copies. We'll use this chain wide." She didn't say anything, but her eyes said enough. At 4, Russ pulled Harper aside while she restocked napkins up front. "You ever think about moving up?" he asked. She paused. "I've been offered shifts before. I turned them down." "Why?" "Didn't want to babysit people who don't care." "What if you had a team that did?" She looked back toward the kitchen where Ellie was showing Deshawn where to store the backup sauces. Tyler was reviewing the closeout list, and Carmen was reviewing hourly sales against labor. "I'd think about it," she said. "Start thinking harder," Russ replied. "I'm opening a leadership track in 2 stores. You'd be my first pick for 13. She didn't smile, but she didn't say no. At 5, Russ stepped outside. The sky was turning pink behind the buildings. He looked back through the glass doors of store 13. The line was steady but moving. No raised voices, no chaos, just people doing their jobs with dignity and space to breathe. Carmen joined him a minute later. You did what most owners won't, she said. I ignored this place for too long, Russ admitted. You fixed it by showing up, he nodded. And staying. She looked back at the store. Let's make sure it stays fixed. They walked back in without ceremony, no speeches, no announcements, just work to do. And this time, the right people to do it.